All right, so we'll go ahead and start with introductions and allow you to know who all's presenting to you today. So we have Colby Holiday, who couldn't be with us live, but she loved you all so much and wanted to make sure that you got this wonderful information from her. So she recorded her session for you, which I will play. Colby is the World of Wonder creator, and she actually is the director of our social media for Black Travel Alliance. Then we also have Tamiko Harvey, who is the creator of Passports and Grubs. She is our chair of strategic partnerships and collaborations. If you joined last month's dynamic webinar, then you heard from Tomiko all about SEO. We have Kerwin McKenzie. Kerwin is our resident geek squad. He handles our tech for us. We could not do much of what we do without our Kerwin. Kerwin is a former airline employee and an OG in the travel game, so he's got some great knowledge for you. And last but certainly not least, we have Martinique Lewis. Martinique is the Black Travel Alliance president and author of the ABC Travel Greenbook. So we are honored to have her here with us today, sharing her knowledge. So we are going to get started, and up first is going to be Colby's presentation. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and make sure that you keep you are automatically muted, and also turn off your video. We'll only be showing the speakers anyway. All right, so let's get started.
Hi guys, thanks so much for joining us today. Of course, we're talking about successfully pitching brands and DMOs. My name is Colby Holiday, and I am the travel blogger.
Hold on. I hit something I did not intend to hit. All right.
From World of a Wanderer. Just a little bit of... Hi guys, thanks so much for joining us today. Of course, we're talking about successfully pitching brands and DMOs. My name is Colby Holiday, and I am the travel blogger from World of a Wanderer. Just a little bit about me. I'm an HR professional turned lifestyle photographer turned travel blogger turned freelancer turned partnerships consultant for a travel brand. Throw in an ESL teacher in there somewhere along the way, and that is me. I've done lots of different things, worn many different hats. But the hat I'm wearing right now mostly is a digital content creator, which encompasses my travel blog in World of a Wanderer, and I'm a social media manager for different brands. So let's go ahead and hop right into this thing because I don't have much time. So a little bit about my blogging journey. I started my journey in January of 2016. I launched World of a Wanderer from a hotel room in Vietnam while I was on a 1-month jaunt around Southeast Asia. Fast forward to August 2016, I made my first pitch ever to Skyroam. Incidentally, it was to Skyroam. Marty, works for Skyroam now, so that's the first brand I pitched to. It was a terrible pitch, but they gave me a chance and said yes, and I am forever grateful for that. I had around 1,500 Instagram followers at that time. So just a little over 1,000. It may have been more or less. I can't even remember, honestly, but I know it was somewhere in the thousands. Fast forward to December 2016, I took a 2-week trip around the Balkans, and my mission was to not have to pay for little to nothing for that trip. So I pitched. I ended up working with hotels, DMOs, tourism boards, hostel, activity companies. I worked with everybody. And I ended up only having to pay for 2 nights out of pocket for an Airbnb. Everything else was comped or covered. So that was excellent. Again, I still only had around 1,500 to 1,700 followers on Instagram, not a lot at all. Fast forward to present day. There was a lot that happened between December and present day, but I don't have time, so I'm going to cut out the fluff. Currently, I have a little over 7,000 followers on Instagram and have collaborated with over 50 plus brands, both paid and unpaid. All right, some of the brands I've worked with the likes of Disney, GMC, Biltmore, Amsterdam, Toyota, Visit Orlando. All these brands I've collaborated with in some shape, form, or fashion, and some are paid and some are unpaid again. All right, so when pitching to brands as a micro influencer, these are the things that you want to include in your pitch. You want to talk about who you are. Just short, sweet, to the point, 2 sentences max, doesn't have to be anything fancy. Your why. Why do you want to work with this brand? What do you bring to the table? Let them know who you are and why it would be a privilege for them to work with you. Yes, you want to work with this brand and it would be great and awesome and all that jazz, but it's a privilege for them to work with you because they're tapping into your specific audience. So let them know why working with you is what they need to be doing. Your dates, if it is a date specific thing, like a vacation or a trip or anything, you want to make sure you include your dates. But also, if your dates are flexible, be sure to say that as well, because the brand may come back and say, oh, sorry, we don't have the dates available to that. But if your dates are flexible, that gives them more wiggle room to work with. So be sure to let them know your dates are flexible if they are. You want to include where you plan to post this content. Is it going to be on your blog, on social media, on YouTube? Where's this stuff going to be housed? And last, something that not a lot of people do, but you should, is include social proof. If you had followers or friends or anyone who has made a purchase, taken a trip, done anything because of you, take screenshots of that and add that into your pitch just for a little razzle dazzle. Because it shows these brands that people are listening to you. They are taking heed in your advice. You are influencing them. So be sure to include that social proof. So the makings of a great pitch. I have included some excerpts from one of my pitches that I got a yes to. This was back in December of last year around the holidays. And this pitch was to GMC. So I'm just going to read through it really quickly. As a traveler, I'm always looking for the best and most fuel-efficient ways to get around. I recently discovered the GMC Terrain gives 32 miles per gallon combined, which is amazing. This will be the perfect vehicle for the road warriors and weekend wanderers. My audience is comprised of budget-conscious yet travel-savvy readers who love brands that make the travel experience affordable. So this tells the brand that, one, it tells them about my type of audience. They're budget conscious, yet travel savvy people. So they want an affordable experience with a little lux maybe. They want the most bang for the buck. It tells the brands that I did my research on the brand. This is not a generic pitch. I named specifically a type of vehicle that they sell. I talked about the miles per gallon that it gets. It lets the brand know that this is just not another plug and play kind of, pitch. I actually did the research on them. And it also tells them why this brand is a perfect fit for my audience. Again, it goes back to them being budget conscious, yet travel savvy. So it tells them why I need to have my audience behind the wheels of their vehicles. All right. Next, something else I included. One of my favorite holiday traditions is driving around with my grandmother to see all the beautiful holiday lights. It's a tradition we haven't been able to do for the last few years as I've been in other countries. This year, I would like to restart that tradition, take GMC along for the ride, and encourage readers to create new traditions as well. Whether it's driving around admiring holiday lights, going to pick out and or cut down a Christmas tree, going on an ice skating adventure, etc. No matter the tradition, GMC can make the journey more efficient and comfortable. So this tells the brand my story angle. Whenever you're pitching brands, you want to make sure you have a unique story, a unique idea that you can pitch to them. Not a generic pitch. This also personalizes my pitch. I included my grandmother in this pitch. Pro tip, brands love grandmothers. I don't know why, I don't know what it is about them, but they love grandmothers. I've included my grandma in about 3 different pitches and got a yes right away to all of them. So I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. Personalize your pitch, throw in a little story, and make it do what it do. So this also paints a picture for the brand. It tells them exactly how I'm going to be highlighting their brand. I'm talking about the holidays, I'm talking about family, I'm talking about tradition. So it paints a picture of how I'm going to, again, be amplifying their brand. All right, social proof. I talked about this earlier, adding in that social proof when you've influenced anyone to do anything. So one of my followers says, Portable Wanderer always reminds her followers about gyms in our own backyard. So she ended up taking a day trip that I posted about on my own feed, encouraging people to explore their own backyards. And she ended up taking the same day trip. So this shows the brands that, again, that people are listening to you, what you have to say. They're not just listening, but they're taking action. So she took this day trip because I posted about it. So enter in that social proof. And last but not least, if you don't take anything else that I have said, be sure to do this in every email, every time. Add a PS. It's a call to action for these brands. Mine says, if this email is not directed to the appropriate person, it would be greatly appreciated if you could point me in the direction of who it should be sent to. Many thanks. This, make sure this, it doesn't ensure because it's still going to the black hole, but this keeps your email from going into the black hole a lot of the times, because if someone receives email, they're not the right person. They might just forget about it, move it to the trash, whatever. But this call to action tells them, hey, if this is not the right person, can you please send it to who it does belong to? And oftentimes they'll CC their colleague or whoever should receive the pitch. I've gotten a lot of these people sending it to the right person for me. So always include that PS. All right, so the $1 million question, should I include a media kit in my pitch? Listen, okay, first, this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna give you 5 seconds to enter in your answer. Do you think you should include your media kit in every pitch? So 5 seconds, type yes or no in the comments. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, got your answers? Cool. I can't see your answers, but I can imagine that there were some yeses and some nos. But here is the right answer. There is no right answer. Dun, 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 of course. All right, so there is no right answer. Some may agree or disagree with me. I understand that even some of my peers on this panel, you may hear different information, and that's fine. You know, for me personally, I feel like you have to do what works for you. Here's what I mean by that. My personal experiences as with sending my media kit as a micro-influencer, one, I do have a media kit and I always send it, I always have it on standby just in case a brand does ask for it. But majority of the time, I don't send my media kit. And here's why. One, I let the quality of my blog and social media speak for itself, not the numbers. Like for my blog, I keep it nice and clean, it's minimalistic. I make sure I have good quality photos. I make sure I have good quality content. Like I let my work speak for itself. I don't want brands looking at my numbers because they're not the biggest and greatest. So look at my work and let that speak for itself. So when I first started pitching, I rarely, if ever, sent my media kit for the first year to year and a half. And no one ever asked for it. The only brand that ever asked for my media kit was Disney. And then I sent it to them right away and I got a yes. So again, make sure you have your media kit on standby. But one thing I realized that once I did, because I was like, well, maybe I should start sending my media kit more often because that's what people told me to do. Like, you need to send a media kit. So I started sending my media kit and then I was getting more no's and more no responses than I did when I wasn't sending my media kit. So I stopped sending it. So it didn't work for me. Me sending my media kit did not work for me. So I stopped sending it. There are times, again, I do still send it sometimes when I'm very strategic about who I send my media kit to. And this is how I determine who I send it to. If it's a smaller brand, like small brand, maybe not a lot of people know them, I'll send my media kit to them. Here's why. Because if I send my media kit, which includes the different brands that I work with, they'll see that I've worked with the Disneys and Biltmore and Toyota. And if they see that I work with these big name brands, they're like, oh, if she's good enough for Disney, then she's good enough for us. She has to be good enough for us. Newsflash, I'm good enough either way, but that's neither here nor there. So when they see that, I feel like they're more apt to work with me because I have worked with these other big name brands. So I'll send it to the smaller companies. Larger companies, I don't send my media kit. I rarely ever send my media kit to big companies because, I mean, they see I work for other big companies, whatever. But if they're looking at my little small numbers, they're like, maybe not. So these brands, there are still a lot of brands that don't understand the concept that numbers are not everything. Engagement matters more than numbers, but there's still a lot of brands that only look at the numbers. So, you know, you just have to figure out what works for you. If you do send your media kit, I beg of you, finesse, don't fudge. Here's what I mean by that. Finesse, you have to be clever when you send your media kit. You want to make it look pretty. You want to, you know, beef yourself up a little bit, but you don't want to lie. I've worked in influencer outreach, so I've worked on the influencer and the brand side of things. If you send me your media kit and you say that you have 50,000 page views per month, but I type in my little tool, because we have tools that tells us everything we need to know without you having to give us any of your information. I type in my little tool and look up your blog and really you only have 5,000 page views per month. Then I look at you like you're a liar and I don't want to work with you. So don't lie about your numbers. Here's what you can do instead. You can make your largest stats your highlights. So if you have 50,000 page views, highlight that. Don't highlight the 5,000 Instagram followers. You can minimize your smaller numbers. Same thing I just said, just make, minimize your smaller numbers. You can aggregate your total number of followers and friends. This is specific to Facebook. You can add your personal page, your business page, add your numbers together, and there you go. Instead of individual numbers, include a cumulative amount. So take all your social media followers, add them up, and have one big number. You can talk about your growth. For example, I tripled my IG reach or followers in the span of 3 months. So these are some ways that you can highlight, make yourself look better, package it in a pretty little bow, but don't lie about it. All right, here's a copy of my media. This is from January 2018. So as you can see, I highlighted my larger numbers here. My 58,000 monthly page views, 23,000 monthly unique visitors. But my social, I made it real small, these little bitty numbers at the bottom, because I don't want brands to pay attention to that. I want them to pay attention to these numbers. So that's just a little pro tip thing that you can do. All right, so the do's and don'ts of pitching as a micro-influencer, just to kind of wrap this thing up because I'm running out of time. Do's, you want to make sure you're pitching the right person, whether it's a PR company or the brand itself, make sure you find the right contact. You want to make sure your pitch is personable, make it a unique story, talk about your grandma. You want to make sure your pitch shows value to the brand, add a call to action to every email, that PS I was talking about. Determine what works for you, whether you send a media kit or don't send a media kit. Be kind. Being kind goes so far you wouldn't even believe. Just be kind and do good work and go above and beyond. Brands appreciate this so much. Again, speaking as someone who's worked in influencer outreach, do good work. You can get anything. Like, what do you want? You want an extra month of this? You want another one of these? I got you. All right, so the don'ts. Don't send generic pitches. Oh, don't do it. Just don't do it. Make it personable. Don't feel entitled. These brands don't owe you anything. You're reaching out to them. Even if they're reaching out to you, they don't owe you anything. Don't feel entitled. Influencers come a dime a dozen. They can go get somebody else. So there's that. Don't make it about you, because it's not. It's about the brand. Make it about them. How do you add value? Don't not follow up, because the fortune is in the follow-up. Emails get lost. People forget about them. Make sure you follow up with the brands. I typically say around 7 days, I'll send the next follow-up email. Don't be transactional, be relational. Influencer marketing is all about relationships, whether it's building relationships with your audience, building relationships with the brands. Make it relational. And lastly, just because you might not have the biggest numbers, don't count yourself out. As micro-influencers, we have stuff to say and we have a lot of value to add to these brands. So don't count yourself out. Send the pitches, get comfortable with it, get comfortable with receiving a lot of no's, because it's going to happen. But you never know unless you try. So just don't count yourself out. All right, guys, that is my time I thank you so much. If you have any questions about anything, drop them in the comments and we'll be sure to answer. Bye, guys.
That was excellent information from Colby. And if you have questions, we're going to address those at the end. You can drop those in the chat and we will definitely be able to get those answers for you. So up next, we have Martinique Lewis, who's going to go ahead and share her screen.
And Colby is in here, just if anybody wants to.
Is she?
Yeah,
Awesome.
if anybody wants to directly.
Today, I didn't know she was going to make it.
Yeah. Okay, can you guys see this? There we go. All right, good morning, guys. I am Martinique Lewis. You guys can call me Marty if you'd like. I am a founding member and the president of BTA. I'm a diversity and travel consultant. I'm the creative lead of Nomadness Tribe, a travel content creator, and an influencer manager. So the best part about me is that I'm on both sides. Not only am I a content creator, but like I said, I'm an influencer manager for Skyroam, as Colby said in her presentation, which is a travel Wi-Fi company. It's interesting to watch Colby's presentation and to see what you guys said, because I'm completely different. But excuse me, that's why I'm glad that we're having this, because there's a difference of opinions and different things that people want. So I'm going to take a swig of water because for whatever reason, I'm dying. But some current myths that you would see for influencers or influencer managers. So some things that influencers think that influencer managers doing, that they're ignoring you, that we think that numbers always matter, that we only want certain type of people, and that we actually have budgets. Now, certain things that influencers think that influencer managers might think about them is that influencers are lazy, that they have no substance, that they just want free shit, that they want to look good for social media, and sorry, I need to move this, and that they sit around all day on social media not doing a lot of work. But as you guys know, a lot of these things are false. So let's move forward today and know that this is not the case. So how should you get in touch with an influencer manager? So there are different ways to do it. You can slide in the DMs. It's not an actual thing that I encourage people to do, but I understand that sometimes you can't find an email address, right? So it is okay to slide into the DMs of a brand, and as a person, like actual influencer managers, if you know what the person's actual name is, but just make sure that when you do it, you are as professional as you can be, right? Or as I like to say, you can be a professional stalker. So what does that mean? That means you type in my name, Martinique Lewis, you find me on Instagram, you find me on LinkedIn, you find me on Twitter, or you find my Skyroam email address. And that's how you can actually approach me to my actual DM. A lot of times, because we are in a social media generation, we have access to the people who we want to get their attention, right? A lot of times those people may not have like thousands of followers. So if you send them a message, even though it'll go on the others, they'll actually see it and they'll actually respond back to you. But remember, it's all in your approach. Like the best approach that you can have. Remember, this person can't necessarily see you, but they are reading whatever it is that you are saying to them. So make it good, make it funny, make it impactful, make it so that they want to talk to you outside of their DMs. You can always find somebody's email address. A lot of people don't know, but a lot of people also don't use LinkedIn. But if you do, there's something on somebody's profile that says connect with me, or it says contact information. A lot of times people will put their email address right there, or you can go on a company's website and a lot of times it's available. Or peer introductions. We're all influencers here. We've all worked with certain brands. Ask somebody else to introduce you to an influencer manager if they're okay with that. Now, why do I emphasize if they're okay with that? Don't ask me to introduce you to somebody if I don't know you, right? If I'm introducing you, I come and I'm basically telling this influencer manager, this person is dope. This is why I'm introducing you to each other. And I can vouch for this person that they'll do a good job. So peer introduction is very, very important. But make no mistake, you can't just ask somebody you don't know. Ask somebody in your network. Now, some people might not mind you coming at them and saying, hey, I noticed that you worked with such and such brand a year ago. I'm looking forward, or I would also am looking to work with them. Can you let me know actually who you worked with? And some people will give you that person's contact information. Some people won't, but again, it should be all in your approach and how you're asking somebody to help you. Okay, so these are some combos that I've gotten in my DMs for Skyrim. So somebody might say, you have a really cool product. I would post it in my story a couple times for free. Everybody knows this is not something I would even respond to. I just look at it and I'm like, oh, that's great. On to the next. This is somebody else. Hi, guys. Sure, I'm that kind of creator, and I really find your strategy as the right one. I'm actually road tripping in the U.S., visiting and shooting all the most beautiful national parks. So you guys, already this is too long, right? And I'm like, nope, I don't have time to read this, right? So then there's somebody else that says, hi, they were wondering who we might contact in your marketing department about a possible giveaway for a few of our followers via a drawing. We did a poll in our story asking who heard of Skyrim. 1,022 people replied and only 200 had heard of you. We received 198 direct messages asking about Skyrim, how it works, where it can be purchased. Thoughts? Now, to some people, this might sound good, but to me, I'm going to be like, okay, show me the screenshot. I'm like, great. 1,022 people replied and 201 had heard of me. Did you take a screenshot of that so I can see what you said? Like Colby said, don't finesse. Because we ain't even about that life. We're trying to get through that. We're trying to get over that. Somebody else says, hey, just came across your product. So neat. I was wondering if you'd be interested in having me create some content for you. I'm actually headed to Bali to film some YouTubers in July. And that would be a good, really nice location to get some good shots for you. I probably wouldn't respond to this person either. Now, this last one. Hey, I'm trying to get in contact with your marketing team to discuss an exciting influencer marketing opportunity. Can you please share the email of the person who is best to discuss this? This is the one that I will respond to. Actually, I'll respond to all of these, but this is an easy one. It gets straight to the point, and I can say, yes, absolutely. This is the person. Oh, sorry. This is the person that you might want to reach out to. So if you guys have to slide in somebody's DMs, this is the way that I would suggest you do it. But just also understand, be strategic in the way that you reach out. All right, so when you are actually having a conversation through email, I believe Colby touched on this a little bit. What should you actually say to at least get my attention? Things you should not say. I'm going to New York and I will take photos of the Statue of Liberty. Well, that's great, but everybody goes to New York and takes a photo of the Statue of Liberty. Things that I would respond to. I'm going to New York to show my community the 5 best pizzerias as the first pizzeria in the United States opened in NYC in 1895. I would respond to that because you built out a story. So now not only is it a great picture that you have of my product, we can turn this into a blog post and we can drive more traffic, not only to our blog because of this blog post, but it helps us also have some more interesting things to now tap into a community we might not have known before. So they built out the story. That's something that I'm like, oh, this is really, really interesting. You're not just showing, hey, here's the Skyrim in New York at the Statue of Liberty. You're building out and you're rounding out an excellent story. Somebody might say, my core audience is backpackers from Western Europe. Well, that's great, but what are we supposed to do with that information? Instead of that, you might say, my core audience is backpackers from Western Europe, which is next to North America, produces the most backpackers between the ages of 18 and 35. So now I'm like, oh, okay, his community is part of the community who we've been constantly trying to tap into. So I know that there are this community that's between 18 and 35. I know about how much they might spend on tech. And now I know that they also need the Skyrim because it's backpackers, so they might be remote. So I'm like, this actually gives me an insight into who will be watching you and why it works for my company, how it's going to bring in more sales. Somebody might say people who don't send me media kits. So let's talk about this. Because y'all always talking about, no. Tamiko, I seen you say no on there. And that's why, no, I'm just playing. But you guys, I will not respond to an email if somebody doesn't send me a media kit. And why is a media kit important to me? Because I can't tell who you are through your email just because you say it. Through your media kit, I'll be able to see what other brands you worked with. I'll be able to know your numbers. And this is the thing. People think that small numbers don't matter, but they do. I still want to see how many people come to your blog. I still want to see who your community is. I think people have the messed up notion that we think, and when I say we, I mean influencer managers think that micro influencers and nano influencers aren't important. That is a lie. I started off as a nano influencer, but I was able to show my analytics and I was able to show my engagement. And my engagement was through the roof, even though I only have 15,000 followers. I'm sorry, 1,500 followers. So I still want to see that. Additionally, I want to see who you're marketing to. I want to know exactly what niche you're marketing to and why that's important to you. So like in my personal media kit, people will see everything about the Black travel community and why it fits into their brands. And then I also tailor my media kits to every single person who I reach out to. So I would not answer an email that didn't have a media kit. And granted, if you know they're going to ask for a media kit, why not just send it in the first initial email? More than likely, you're going to send them a message. Then they're going to say, do you have a media kit? Like I said, me personally, I do not work with somebody unless they have a media kit. I think Ime is on here. He can tell you when he slid into Skyrim DMs, I stopped immediately and was like, this is not how you reach out to somebody. You need to do a media kit. I have told so many influencers, if you don't have a media kit, come back to me when you do, because it is important. It is your visual resume. You have to understand on a daily basis at Skyrim, I get at least 25 pitches. Help me be able to get through and know that you're serious by sending me your media kit. It is your visual resume. I also can see how you put things together, what your aesthetic is. So to me, it's very, very important. Now, again, if y'all don't want to include your media kit, that is your personal preference and there's nothing wrong with that. But me as an influencer manager, that's the only reason that I will move forward with you, is because I can see your media kit. So something else that I will not answer is people who ask about budget after a signed contract. Like they said, be intentional in this initial email and ask, is there any budget? I hate when people ask me, is there any budget after they sign a contract? And I'm like, well, the contract didn't say any money. So why are you asking about it now? I do love when people include their rate card. So maybe your rates are at the back of your media kit, or maybe with your media kit, you have your rates. That lets me know off the back that you actually want some money, and it lets me know how I can fit you into my budget. What are some sprinkles on top that help me move forward with actually saying yes to an influencer? Subject lines. I love amazing subject lines. And it's partially because me as an influencer, I'm super dramatic. So I write everything in all caps, or I try to make somebody laugh. But subject lines are a big deal because, like I said, I get 20 pictures a day. How am I making sure that I am clicking through? A lot of times I don't see stuff, but if you have an engaging subject line, more than likely I'm going to notice it and I'm going to click on it. Use names, right? Like, let's say you saw somebody else. So one thing I used to always do, if it was somebody else, another influencer I noticed that they worked with, I would drop the name like, yeah, I saw that you worked with, you know, one of my colleagues, such and such, and she really had a great time here. And I love the way that she showed your product in this way, right? So use a name, add value beyond deliverables, right? So your deliverables are the things that you're telling them that they can have for working with you. So when you add value beyond the deliverables, we're like, oh, this person is serious. And I don't only want to work with them one time. I want to work with them and continue this relationship. If you can add case studies, and this is why I say you need to have a media kit included. If you can add case studies, that allows me now to see exactly what you did with the other brand and the engagement that you had. I always include case studies in my media kit when I send out to brands because I want them to know this is how my community responded to you, right? Excuse me. this is what they thought about your product. This is what they thought about this destination. I take screenshots and I said, this is what this person thought. They thought that your community or that your destination wasn't diverse enough. They thought that your community only showed X, Y, and Z. They didn't realize that this part was here for your community. So if you can add case studies, that always, always, always gets our attention. Give us a preview. One of the best campaigns I've done was with a couple out of the Netherlands, couple of men. They pitched to Skyroam for holiday season, and in their media kit, it was both of them behind a Christmas tree, and then they had this little circle and said, your product here. So they gave us a preview of what the actual photos could look like, and we loved it. And the actual photos looked just like that, where they turned the Skyroam into an actual Christmas ornament and put it on the tree. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, thank you. Give them a taste of what they might see. Like, be like, oh, well, I found this location and I really, really want to take a photo here because this is the story that I want to tell them. Make us visually see what you're going to do so we can be excited about what you're turning in also. Teach us something. Teach us something we might not have known, or figure out a way to take that product or that destination and fuse it with a little known fact, right? And then also discuss a photo. So like I just said, tell us where you're going to take the picture, or tell us like, oh, there's this community here with these people and it matches with your color orange, and make us see it basically before we get there. Timing. I want to talk about timing because this is always important. Do not email me at marty@skyroam.co 2 days before you're leaving for something. Our process takes way longer than that. Do email me 3 to 4 weeks before you're doing something. The reason I say that is because after you and I talk, or after you send me an initial email, then me and you have to get on the phone. I have to understand exactly what you want to do. Then after that, based off of the budget, I have to go to my manager and get it approved, who has to get it approved by the accounting department. And then after that, I have to send in that I want to send you a Skyroam that now is going to my shipping department. And it could take them up into a week to do that. So I want to make sure that we have tons of time to get you what you need so we can move forward together. Do not expect to be answered right away. I get 20 pitches a day. I normally send the ones that I like into a specific folder so I can come back to them on Thursdays, because those are the days that I try to talk to influencers, because on Mondays, I'm working with affiliates. On Tuesdays, I'm working directly with my marketing team. On Wednesdays, I have to schedule out social media content and do emails. So understand, like, we're not just sitting around waiting for your stuff to come in, and not saying that you're not important, you are, but understand that we have a job also. And so we can't answer everything right away, but do expect to be answered. Make sure, or do not follow up the next day when they said they would reach out. It is nothing more annoying when I have responded to somebody and I was like, I promise you I will reach out. And then you email me the next day like, hey, Marty, have you had time to think about it? I'm like, I just told you that I'm definitely going to reach out. So I don't even answer at that point. I'm like, listen, you don't understand, or you don't want to follow directions, and I'm done with it. Do follow up when they say they will reach out and they haven't in a certain amount of time. Now, things get busy with influencer managers. I'm getting content in. I'm trying to make sure my budget is okay. So it's okay to follow up and push that email up to the top. Do not assume that a delay is a denial. Don't count yourself out just because I got other stuff going on, but do ask if you can expect the time to move forward with the partnership. And I actually like when people ask that, because then when they say that, I put it on my calendar to make sure I hit this person back. And do not, please do not ask if there's wiggle room. Just state when funds become available and you like to be the first to be considered for a campaign. And last but not least, to deliverables, please do not be late. If you are going to be late, ask for an extension if you really need it. 10 times out of 10, I'm going to say, okay, no problem. Do not overcommit, but do over-deliver, right? Always give them a little bit more, because remember, you don't want it to just be a one-off. You want it to continuously go. Do not be afraid to negotiate. But if you are going to negotiate with funding, make sure that you have a clear plan. And that's all I got.
Thank you so much. That was a great perspective to get from the perspective of the brand. I hope you all are taking great notes and making note of this information. And if you have questions, go ahead and make sure you put them in the chat and we will address them at the end. Up next, we are going to have Tamiko Harvey.
Okay, so hold on one second. Let me share my screen. Okay. Okay, can everybody see me? We all good?
Yep.
Yep, okay. Hey everybody, Tomiko here. So I am going to talk about a couple of things, and it's so funny hearing Colby and now Marty, and we didn't get together before this to kind of go over what we were going to talk about. So it's and this tells you that a one way to do everything is not necessarily the right way. So I would suggest everybody take bits and pieces and do an A and B testing with your pitching to kind of see what works and what doesn't work. All right, so the basics. Pitching is a number game. And when you're pitching to brands, are you asking them about what it is that they are working on? Do you understand what the brand's KPIs are? Do you even know what a KPI is? When do brands receive their budget or their trade fund dollars? And how do you draft a high-level proposal and negotiate? So, key performance indicators. So can I get who in the group knew what a KPI is? And do you I need everybody to thumbs up or thumbs down if when you are pitching to a brand, you have a clear understanding of what they are working on for that quarter. And are you using terminology that brands use when you are pitching to them? Because if you're pitching like you are a novice or you don't really understand business, you've already lost the brand. So can we see who understands and really knows what a KPI is? What are we saying in the chat, Lauren? Because I don't have it on. I'm not.
You got some yeses. You got a lot of yeses, actually.
Okay, good. Now, so once you figure out what the brand's KPIs are, so say it's going to be spring. So are you pitching something that you want to do, or have you looked on the brand's website and figured out for Q1 of 2021, this is what they're working on, so I need to incorporate that into my pitch? And then you should also mention that you want to achieve X amount of revenue in the upcoming year. Help them build a strategy so that they can achieve their goals and objectives. Because like you on your day job have a performance review, the person that you're pitching to has a performance review. So you have to think about how can you help that person that you are pitching to achieve their goals. This isn't about you anymore. You slide what you want into the pitch. So your strategy should map out their business goals and help them answer critical questions. When you are pitching to a brand, you need to know who their target audience is, who their competitors are, what services you will provide, and their what their ROI is going to be. Now, so do brands really have a budget when they say that they don't? Brands get their budgets or their trade funds dollars in October of the prior year. So right now, you should be pitching for 2021. If you start pitching to a brand in June or July of next year and they say, I don't have a budget, guess what? Everybody who knew that brands get their budgets and their trade fund dollars in October and November to plan for 2021, businesses don't start planning 2 months prior to a campaign going on. So you have to think about it from a business perspective. They are already have planned their 2021 marketing campaigns, their marketing budget, all of that is being finalized right now. So if you are waiting until you getting ready to go somewhere or you want to work with the brand, you've already missed the boat. So when they say they don't have a budget, they probably really don't have a budget. So now if you do, if you pitch to somebody and it just depends on where you are in your pitching process, I no longer take product for payment. And so people always want to know, well, how do I say that without offending the brand? This is my go-to phrase right here. Unfortunately, these type of trades for media exposure never seem to provide an equal amount of benefit to me as a business owner, so I'll have to decline. Simple as that. You don't have to be rude. You ain't got to be mean. Just tell them that doesn't work for your business. Now, this is what I use, and this is a high level pitch that I am currently working on right now. And so I thought I'd throw it in there with you. So these are the 3 options that I am going to give this brand that I am pitching to. So this is option A. The investment is $20,000. Option B is $30,000, and option C is $35,000. So you can use this same template. The numbers don't have to be the same, but provide them with what you're going to provide them for their investment. And so at the top where I have increase your revenue with whatever it is that it's going to be tailored to that brand, all of this will be tailored to the brand and to the verbiage that they use on their website. Whatever it is, you want it to be tailored to the brand. So if you wasn't really sure how to provide options, this is a great way to provide options that are really, really high level. But you can take this down. The investment doesn't have to be like this, but this is a good way to provide brands with what you're going to provide them with and the cost that is associated with that. Now, I'm also going to, since we're talking about media kits, hold on. Oh, here it is. Okay. So this is mine, and I use a pitch deck. So it may not necessarily be a media kit like you normally see. I use what I call a pitch deck. And this is the who I am in the very beginning. I talk about multicultural tourism because I want to talk about Black travel. That is where my focus is. I pitch to boutique hotels, restaurants, my target market is, working with brands. I talk about building relationships. I talk about cultural tourism. Don't just focus on the same old, add new experiences to attract tourists. Brand storytelling. Partnerships. This is how I can work with you.
Tamiko, we can't see the pages.
Oh, you can't?
No, we only see the first page.
Oh, man. Hold on. So hold on. Let me go back then. Let's do this then. I'm sorry. Let's see here. So, I'm sorry, y'all. Can you still see can you see it now? My Google Drive?
No.
You can't?
We see your presentation.
That is, oh, you know why? Hold on. Let's see. Here we go. I think that's why. It was only on that. Can you see it now?
Yep.
Okay, here we go. Okay. So let me go back then. I'm going to rush through this because I know we have to move on. But so this is my pitch deck, and it is a very high level pitch deck. I suggest getting someone to create it for you so that it looks professional. This is mine, and I don't put numbers. I don't have my numbers in my pitch deck because I think that the pitch deck speaks for itself. I talk about partnership opportunities, what I can offer. This, okay, it is something going on. This is where we are when we are, okay. And these are the tourism boards that I have worked with, some of the brand partnerships that I have. And this is a video that I have included in my, someone was asking about video earlier. So in my pitch deck, I actually have a video where I talk about why you should work with me. And so it's me talking, discussing what they'll get from me if they collaborate with me. And let's connect. I don't put numbers in my pitch deck because, and I've never put numbers in my pitch deck. So it's always, and when I didn't get the brand partnerships. So I let my voice and my personality speak for me, which, you know, goes volumes, you know, and so I have a big personality, and when I get a brand on the phone, I can normally secure a deal if I can get you on the telephone. And one last thing about connecting to brands and finding telephone numbers, and then I'm going to be done. So say you're pitching to Hilton and you don't have a, can you all see my screen or no? Or is it still on the pitch deck?
It's still on the pitch deck.
I don't know why it's doing this. Okay. Instead of sorry about not it messing up today. Okay, so say you're pitching to Hilton and you don't have a telephone number or an email address. It is called hunter.co. So everybody write that down. It's called hunter.co, and it is an extension. So if you want to pitch to Hilton and you're not sure who to pitch to, you go to this extension, and you will get all of the email addresses for everybody that works at Hilton. Now, right here, if you come down, I saw it earlier, media contact. Here it is right here. Natalie Torbello at Hilton is the media person that you need to contact. Or if you want to go on LinkedIn and then find who their social media manager is or something like that, you can take that name, put the name in here, and then it'll generate the email address for you. And it's free. This doesn't cost you anything. So it's called hunter.co. And it has an extension that you just, when you go to the website and you click on the extension, every name that is under that company's name will come up here. And that, I believe, is it for me. All right, that's it for me.
Thank you, Tomiko. You came with the business savvy and showing the people what is possible and what we should be striving for. And it's not peanuts.
No, it is not peanuts. We are not going to be asking brands for $1,000 and $500. If you can provide them with an ROI, you have the audience, don't be afraid to ask for the coins. And you have to, and really the thing about pitching is just not being afraid. Fear is probably the biggest thing that stops content creators from pitching. I get so many no's that don't even bother me. I'd be like, okay, I'll see you next year. I just was posting on Facebook about a month ago that a brand I pitched to last year that was like, oh, no, you are like too small and too tiny for us. We have no use for you. Hit me up last week talking about, oh, we would love to collaborate with you. Oh, you would? Okay, let's just triple that, what we was gonna charge last year. I appreciate you though. So I think getting over fear and not being afraid of the no's. We all get no's. We are all adults, and you have to be able to say, okay, why did they say no? What could I do better? How can I better engage and not take it personally?
100. All right, we know this is a longer session than normal, but we promise you that it's worth it. We have one more presenter for you today, and that is Kerwin McKenzie. So Kerwin's going to take us on home with the industry perspective. So the screen is yours.
Hello, everyone. Let me just get the screen set up here. And it's pretty amazing stuff from these ladies. I've been taking notes, taking copies of the screens and things like that. And so what I'm going to be talking about is I'm an airline geek. And so I'm going to talk about things from an airline perspective. Like whenever you go to pitch an airline, these are things that you should be thinking about. So what I wanted to do first was just to, I'm moving my screen around, just give you a quick intro. I've worked for 4 different airlines. I started with Delta, then I went to ATA, and I worked for Continental and United. I've spent about 16 years working for airlines, and I've been in the industry for about 26 years. I have been to 125 countries, flown 180 airlines, and well, before COVID, I used to travel about 200,000 miles a year. And at a peak, I actually flew 513,636 miles in 1 year. So needless to say, I love to fly. So let me just talk about the do's when you're trying to pitch an airline. And let me go back a sec. So the key thing here is that you need to be knowledgeable, right? So you need to do your research. But how do you do your research? First, you need to kind of think about how the industry works. So one thing to think about is if you're going to pitch an airline, you need to know that there are different airline alliances around. There is something called the One World Alliance, which the major airlines in that are American Airlines, British Airways, Cathay Pacific, Trinidad, and Iberia. And if you go to oneworld.com/news, you can find out everything that's going on with One World. So again, the whole idea from doing research, if you go to this URL, you will see what the One World Alliance is doing for all the airlines in that alliance. And one of the key things here is that they actually have a system where you can find out what are the travel restrictions in a lot of countries. So if you're trying to pitch one of these airlines, then you may want to highlight what that airline is doing and where they're flying and what customers can do to get to these different countries. A key thing to know is that Alaska Airlines is going to be member number 14, and they come online in March 31st, 2021. Another thing too with the One World, if you are someone who are into environmental issues, then you might want to know that One World is committing to net zero carbon emissions by 2050. And I found this out because I went to the oneworld.com/news website. The other alliances, the major alliances, SkyTeam, they have 19 members. The key ones are, some of them are Air France, Alitalia, Delta Airlines, Kenya Airways, and KLM. And if you go to skyteam.com/en/about/media-contact, you can find a lot of information there of what's going on with the SkyTeam Alliance. The next one and the largest one is Star Alliance. They have 26 current members. Air Canada, Lufthansa, Singapore Airlines, United are the major ones. And if you go to staralliance.com/en/latest-news, you will also be able to get quite a bit of information on what's going on with the Star Alliance here. Now, there are some airlines that are not in alliances. So the fact that an airline is not in an alliance doesn't mean you can't pitch them, right? But when you do pitch them, if they are in an alliance and that's a part of your pitch, you really need to make that information known. So right now there's AirAsia, Caribbean Airlines, Frontier, Emirates, JetBlue, Southwest, Sun Country, Volaris, WestJet, etc. Now, although they aren't in an alliance, some airlines are doing what's called code share. So for example, Emirates and JetBlue has a code share. And so when you're pitching, don't say you want to go to Dubai on JetBlue because JetBlue does not fly to Dubai, Emirates does. So you need to make sure you understand who you're pitching and you need to know the airline routes. And you can find that out from the airline's website. Now, in addition to the airlines, there's also the commercial airline manufacturers. And why do you need to know this? Because a lot of times that you do your pitches, it's actually based on the airplanes that the airlines are flying. So right now, because a lot of the airlines are getting rid of the older airplanes, and although the airplanes aren't necessarily older, they could still be flying, but there is no one's flying. So they're keeping the more advanced airplanes. So with Airbus, there's A350, 900 and 1000. And so if you're going to pitch someone like Qatar, they fly the A350 1000 to the United States, and they do them to select gateways. So if you're in like Houston, for example, or Los Angeles or San Francisco is their nearest gateway, then they'll be flying the A350 1000 in there. And the A320, 21, and 330 Neos, those are the new airplanes that are coming. I'm telling you this so you can understand, you really have to do your research and know what airplanes are flying. So when you pitch, you can sound intelligent, like the ladies I've spoken about before. Airbus is also doing something called the Zero E project. And that is, everyone is into the zero emission. So if you are really an environmentalist, you want to read up on that and highlight that in your pitches. And this is kind of what the zero emission information is. Now, Boeing, if you go to boeing.media.com, you can find out about the 737 now. The one thing to know, if you're going to talk about, the airlines are going to be flying the 737s again. And so it'll be good to pitch to say, hey, you know, I recognize you fly the 737 MAX, and the name has changed. It is now being called the -7, the -8, and the -9s. So what you don't want to do is call it the MAX anymore, because it's not being called that again. The 787s are also the other airplane that Boeing has, the -8, -9, and -10. And the newest airplane that's out there is a 787. -8 and 9, and Lufthansa is the launch customer. Hotel programs, not to be outdone. If you're going to pitch a hotel, you need to know which alliance the hotel is in, because there are also hotel alliances. One of the things you also need to know is you should actually be a member of that hotel's program, because just like anything else, the hotels want members, right? So if you're, let's say this is Accor, if you want to be a part of the Accor program, there's no point in going and talking about Accor if you have no idea how their frequent hotel stay or program works. Now, these are some of the members that are in Accor. Some brands you just never think about. Accor, actually, prior to COVID, they spent a lot of money buying up a lot of brands. So there's a Delano and the SLS that's out in Las Vegas. The one you probably heard about a lot is the Novotel and the Ibis. The Pullman and the Sofitel are the upper end brand, and so is the Fairmont. And the Rapids in Singapore is also a high end brand. They actually just changed their name from Accor to All Accor Live Limitless. So whenever you pitch, make sure you get the brand name correct. The worst thing you can do is get the brand name incorrect. Hilton also have an Hilton Honors portfolio. There are 19 hotels. And hotels the likes of Hilton, Conrad, DoubleTree, Embassy Suite, Hampton by Hilton, and True by Hilton. Just go to newsroom.hilton.com. And Marriott Bonvoy is up to 30 brands. They just did a recent merger. And so yeah, the Marriott, the Loft, the Courtyard, Le Meridien, the Residence Inn, Spring Hill Suites, and the W. Just go to news.marriott.com. What you should also know if you're pitching in these times is that a lot of these hotels, they have actually extended how you get elite status, and they've also changed that. So what you may want to do if you're doing some kind of pitching in these times is to tell them that you know what has happened in the program, and one of the things that you will do, or one of your deliverables, is to communicate what has happened in the program. But you only know this because, one, you may be a member, and two, you've gone and done your research. One thing is, and this is for like all the outdoorsy folks like Lauren, Marriott Bonvoy is launching a marketing campaign. Actually, they've launched it in September with the National Park Foundation. So what they're trying to do is to showcase the Marriott hotels that are around the national parks. So that could be a pitch angle. Now, let's see. Number two, know what the airlines are promoting. And you know this by going to the website. When you go to the delta.com website, for example, they say a new standard of care is here. And they are actually talking about how they clean the airplanes. and all that kind of information. So the hotels and the airline website is the ideal place to go to find out what's going on with these products. They'll also have a promotion page, a news release page. The airplane manufacturer is the same way. You'll have the website and also on social media. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram stories, Snapchat, which is probably not such a thing these days, and LinkedIn. Yeah, you've heard all the ladies talk about LinkedIn and how to find people on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is very huge. It is really important that if you really want to get in touch with any brands in terms of whether airline or hotels or any kind of brand, LinkedIn is a good place. Air Canada and WestJet actually have a lot of information on there. So it's good to go on, comment, follow the people and things like that. Now, how to be prepared. Sorry, I'm reading on the, there's a little thing covered my screen, so that's why I keep moving around. You really need to get on LinkedIn and you need to prepare your profile. Basically, when someone comes to your profile, you want to tell them who you are, what you do, and what you want them to do. So this is an example of what my profile looked like. There are a whole lot of different profiles out there on LinkedIn, but just go out there and check out the one that you think will accentuate your brand. You need to follow the airlines and hotels on social media. This is a Southwest website because this is, Instagram account. This is where they talk about a lot of the stuff that they're doing, and they're really using social media to communicate these days. I spoke about joining the loyalty programs for all the hotels. While I was researching this, and I actually saw this on somebody else's Instagram feed, Hyatt has something called Work from Hyatt, which is a program where you go to the hotel and you basically work from the hotel. And so this might be something that you may want to pitch. But again, you have to do your research, and I would recommend that you become a member of the World of Hyatt program. Google Alerts. This is actually one of probably the most underutilized tool, and you could use this for anything. You could actually use this for your own name. So I have it Googled. I have my name set up. So anytime my name gets mentioned, they will send me an alert. And there's some interesting things that your name gets mentioned for. One of the things that I also did was for my, someone was stealing my content, and Google sent me an alert that my name was being used elsewhere. And I found out that they had downloaded my entire book and stored it on their website. Now you can do the same thing for the hotels. So you put the hotels' names in, the airline names in, or their program. You can put miles, you can put charters, you can put anything that you want, and then you'll get a message whenever something shows up. Attend conferences. TBEX is one of the major travel conferences out there. And it is a really good thing when you attend conferences because you actually get to meet people face to face, which you can't really do now, but there's a lot of virtual conferences that's going on. And so try to attend these. Some are free or some are very minimal, but it's very good to do conferences. So let's talk quickly about compensation. You can ask for cash, but right now the airlines have no money, and they're not even lying. They actually have no money. So whenever you do the pitches now, you have to be creative. So they have their own currency. So they have the airline miles, they have their point system, and you also have travel certificates. You've got hotel stays. You can do upgrade certificates. You can get airline lounge access. You can get hotel breakfast. Some of these hotels, the breakfasts are like $50. So getting a hotel breakfast is actually a really good deal. You can get airline swag, model airplanes, amenities, onboard pajamas. Airline onboard pajamas, like the value of a pajama of like a first class in Emirates is about the cost of the ticket because you can't get one unless you fly first class. So these are actually quite valuable. You can get partners. So let's say you're working with, say, United, and Marriott is a hotel partner. You can probably get the partner to, you can work with the partner and make that an arrangement so both will pay you. Your payment can just be content for your blog because maybe you have no content about airlines. So that might be good. And then you can use that content and you can make money from it from advertising. It could be just accomplishing your goals. Sometime for me, I want to fly a lot of airlines. I've flown 180 as I've said, But what I want to do is fly more airlines. So if I'm flying a new airline, for me, that could be payment. So just be creative in what you do. And also the cost of the trip. I mean, if you get a first class trip from, say, New York to Dubai on Emirates, you're probably talking like $5,000, $6,000. So that is actually quite a good amount. Also, you can do affiliates. So if people click on the links and go book, you can go to Momondo and set up an affiliate program, or Kayak, or any of these aggregate companies. Now, quickly for the do's, for the don'ts. Don't ask for a free flight. Airlines hate that. Just don't ask for a free flight, right? I mean, you have to give them something for them to give you something. And it's more about them than about you. The other thing is work with brands that do not match your geo genres. So let's say you're a budget traveler. Don't go ask for a first class Emirates trip, because it just doesn't match, right? Or same thing with Qatar. Don't go flying the Q suites if you're a budget traveler. Qatar has actually 2 products. So you can fly in the economy product as a, instead of the first class. And don't badmouth the brands. I see people do that so many times, because somebody had a bad experience, everybody piles onto that brand. But the fact that somebody had a bad experience, you do not have all the details, I guarantee it. So don't go piling on the brand. So let's recap real quickly. That little thing is in my way. Okay, just say be knowledgeable. Know what the airlines and hotels are promoting. Join LinkedIn, follow on social media, join the loyalty program, set up Google Alerts, attend conferences, virtual as we are doing, and understand the compensation options and the don'ts. Don't ask for a free flight. Work with brands. Don't work with brands that don't match your genre. And please, please, please do not badmouth the brands. And that's all I got. How are we doing with time, Lauren?
Not too bad, not too bad.
All right, let me.
So much, Kerwin. That was really, really great information.
Sure. Thank you. Let me stop sharing so I can see all the comments and stuff like that.
And if I can get Tomiko and Marty to turn your cameras on if you're still with us, and we will try to get in 10 minutes of questions if everybody can be on. So I have some questions that I saw in the chat that I'll ask. If you guys have more questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. So housekeeping, yes. So we always send the presentation out. Afterward, you'll get the access to that. You'll have the full recording of the presentation. Also, for November, webinar next month, November 21st, same time, same place. We will be talking about monetization, how to monetize as a content creator. And I will actually be your presenter along with Dr. Nadine White Underwood. We will both be presenting how to make that money and get those coins. So go ahead and lock that in your calendars and you will get that information. Yes, it will be listed on Ticket Falcon. It's always on our website, promoted on all of the BTA social media, and sent out in our newsletter. Make sure you have joined Black Travel Alliance if you have not done so already. I'll drop that link in the chat, and follow us on all socials on Instagram and Twitter, as well as LinkedIn. There's always information being disseminated with opportunities, our job board, and all that great information. So you're missing out if you're not following us. So let's get into these questions. So we had a question come up about the brand KPI. So we'll let you handle this one, Tomiko. They wanted to know, like, how do you find what the brand's KPI is, and how do you understand what their strategy is?
So you ask when you are, and that is about creating a conversation and building a partnership. So when you email, like I'm getting ready to pitch to a brand this week, and I am going, before I do anything, I'm going to ask them, what are they working on for Q1? Can they provide me with their list of KPIs that they're going to be working on for Q1 in 2021? And then, so you start a conversation. And so they probably don't get a lot of content creators asking them, hey, you know, what are your KPIs? What is it that you're working on? Make the conversation about them. And then when you come back to them, you incorporate that conversation that you have had into your pitch. So you ask the brand what it is, and you don't have to necessarily use the term KPI, but what is it that you are working on in Q1 of 2021?
Awesome. That is awesome advice that we can all take from. I think the important thing to note is you have to have a conversation. You're not going to be able to land really lucrative deals that are really going to pay you what you want without making real connections with people, whether that's phone call, Zoom. That's where you're going to get the most information. Email is great, but that's just the starting point.
Right. Right. You have to build a relationship, and it doesn't happen in one email. You have to get on the phone and and like I said, if I can get on the phone, because I like talk a lot, so I can sell you whatever it is. I can, you know, sell an Eskimo some ice. That's just what I do. So you have to be able to have a personality as well. So you can't be all, you know, I don't want to pitch, sounding timid. You have to figure out the person, and that goes into LinkedIn, looking at their profile, seeing what it is that they do. Who is it that you're going to be pitching to? All of that goes into pitching.
Awesome. We had one more question about specifically, well, Kerwin, you answered it in the chat. So I wanted everybody to hear it though.
Sure.
Nadine had a question about, is it really attainable to pitch airlines? Some people think that they don't work with us.
Yeah, it's really tough with the airlines, and especially now since they really don't have any budget. But that's where you have to be creative. So if, you know, like I was telling Nadine, she does wines. So if you want to do something like, what are the wines that the airlines serve at their clubs, or what wines they serve on board. So if you're going to, say, Paris, the wines to Paris are actually different than the wines that they serve to, say, Argentina or to Australia or things like that. So you may want to just try to tie it into what you're doing and still pitch them, but don't necessarily pitch for money. But you know, maybe you pitch to work with one of the vineyards that they're showcasing on their flights, you know, or maybe you just get you get coupons or you get miles, so you can get as payment. Because although they won't give you, say, $1,000, but if they give you, like, you know, 100,000 miles, that is actually, you could use 100,000 miles and fly around the country a bit.
Great advice. All right, another question that came through. People have questions about getting started as a beginner when you're just starting out. And I can field some of those because I too am a micro influencer like Colby, got started as a nano influencer, and I've been getting paid work since I had even less than 1,000 followers on Instagram. So when you're just getting started, some things you can do. Number one, write about things that you genuinely like. So if you're going to these places, you're using a product or you're eating at a restaurant, whatever that is, you took a trip, post about it and write about it as if you were getting paid. This still builds your portfolio. And then you engage with that brand on social media. You show them what you've done. You show them the kind of work that you can do. You start those conversations. You build up that relationship. And so that way, when you do decide to pitch them, you can show them, hey, here's a trip that I did, or I stayed at this property, or whatever it is that you did. You can show them the work that you've already done, because it's about showing the value that you can add. So by doing that, you're already showing them the quality of your work. Another way you can build up to, you know, that portfolio and being able to show that you know how to work with brands, you know how to promote. Look at local things. Here in Tampa, we have a group called Tampa Bay Bloggers. That's really how I got my start into working with brands, it's an aggregate. So they have a point person. She has PR people that come to her looking for influencers, and then she sends out the all call within that group. And so it's strength in numbers. And so you have a group of people versus just one influencer, and that worked for the brand. If you don't have a group like that, then you can be that person to start doing something like that. Look at working with other nano influencers or other micro influencers on a partnership, and that way, you know, that can subsidize maybe for you, you have a smaller numbers, but you can show a much bigger reach.
Hey, Lauren, just to add to that point is, so in the airline space, what some people do is that they just do a review. So let's say you're taking a flight, just do a review of your flight, you know, do a video of the check-in process, you're getting on the plane. People like to know, does my seat have a window? Because not every seat has a window. So do stuff like that, get a video going and just show that out there and get some followers to it, because people like to see that kind of thing. And then you can use that to build your follower account.
And also, when you're just getting started, and if you really feel like you need help in this area, be willing to invest. There are pitching courses out there. There's templates out there that are available. And if you're serious about it, then it may be worth it to do that. It may be worth it to look at one of these bloggers out here who are doing really well at it and look at taking a course. So we can move on to the next question. We had another question, Tomiko. This one was for you. So when you showed us your pitch deck for that you were working on for these options, they wanted to know, do you typically include a timeline when you send that? You on mute, boo.
Sorry. Sometimes I do include a timeline. So this is a new pitch that I'm working on. So I'm not sure if I'm going to include a timeline or not, but now that it's being mentioned, I think that I might, and it'll help them see the progression of the pitch. So you'll get, if you get A, you'll get this date, and this date. But that could be flexible. It really is what the brand is looking for. And you can, and I promise you, asking questions and asking the brands what it is that they are looking for and what it is that they need from you, that goes a long way, because it creates longer communication and synergy. And it's not just a one-off conversation or them answering a yes or no question. So you can and you can't. I just say, talk to the brands and make sure you are asking them, make them feel as though your pitch is completely about their needs and what they want.
Awesome. All right. And I would piggyback off of that. I send a separate specific pitch dedicated to the brand, and I send them a deck. I have not included dates in those. That's something we negotiate after the fact, other than as far as like when the campaign is going to start and end, but not dates for those individual deliverables, because they have to decide what part of the deliverables they actually want and all those kinds of things. But we come to those terms prior to signing the contract so that all the expectations are set up front. We had another question on what are the terms when you do have these paid opportunities, and when do you expect payment from the brands?
So like the last one I just worked with, I got part of it up front, and then which was, I think it was like 6,000 up front, and then I got the other part on the back half. So they gave me the first part before I flew out. This was before COVID hit. But then I got the other part once I delivered all of the deliverables. I sent them the final invoice. So I get half up front.
That's been my experience as well, is for those larger campaigns like that, getting half up front and half after the remaining deliverables are finished. And let's talk about that. Invoices. You need an invoice template. It's not difficult to create, but don't just expect that you're going to email these brands, be like, hey, you can send this to my Cash App. No. handle everything as a business. You need to send them an invoice that has all the correct information, your name, address, business, what was provided, what the amount was, break those amounts down, have that total, have the date, have the contact if it's a person, and then the company as well. So you want to send them a real invoice for you to get paid. You'll also want to have that for your tax records as well.
And Canva has invoices in there. You can go in and put your logo, create it, make it look all super nice and professional. That goes a long way. That's, yeah.
And so, Kerwin, any experience as far as rates and getting paid and how that works for you? What the expectations usually are?
That's interesting. I think I normally get paid in kind because it's, but yeah, usually you can get paid. Usually it's within 30 days to 45 days, but you should send an invoice out. It's very important that you do that. And sometimes they have, like one of the brands, they have a specific system. You have to go in and fill out this form and then send your thing through that. But usually within 30 to 45 days, but definitely communicate with everyone, because sometimes they get really busy, and it's not that they don't want to pay you. It's just that they got busy doing something else. So just communicate. And the last thing, don't come on social media and air your dirty laundry. If you have a problem with the brand, work it out. Coming in social media and doing that is probably the last thing you should do. But that's just me. I'm from an older generation.
No, I absolutely agree with that. If by all means, try to work things out professionally, because at the end of the day, you are the brand, you're a brand. And so other brands will see what you're doing, and you don't want to deter anyone from working with you. Just one more question that we saw, because I mentioned pitch resources. Do any of you have pitch resources you can recommend? I know I'm in the Pitch Life group on Facebook. And I actually did purchase one of her pitching guides, and it was helpful to me when I was first starting out. Tamiko or Kerwin, any pitch resources?
I was trying to find Lavinia D'Souza. She has a course. She's on LinkedIn. It's Lavinia. Let me just give you her. You can give her a contact here. She does Continental Hop. That's her LinkedIn. Yeah, just give her a buzz. She has a course, a pitching course.
And then the last question that we saw was, is it best to pitch as an individual or as your travel business? Not exactly sure what that means, but I guess if it's who's doing the work. So as an individual, I'm Lauren Gay. My brand is Outdoorsy Diva. When I pitch, I'm pitching as Lauren, the creator of Outdoorsy Diva, and that's the account where all of this information is going to be shared. So I'm telling them it's going to be on outdoorsydiva.com. It's going to be on my Instagram at outdoorsydiva. Everything, whatever avenue you should pitch, whichever one is doing the work is what you want to do. And so obviously you use your legal name and all of that, but it's you and what your brand is, if that makes sense. If we're not answering that, you can give us more details in the chat. And as Kerwin mentioned for invoices, yeah, PayPal, I actually just use the PayPal invoice. It's pretty straightforward and simple and easy for me to keep track of. And it let me pop my logo right in there as well. And then you can just email it that way. And you don't have to be paid via PayPal to use the invoice system, but it'll allow you to generate it there. All right, so this was a great session. Thank you all for sticking with us for this extended session. We will send this out this weekend at some point. You'll get the replay. And again, we'll see you next month, November 21st. Go to blacktravelalliance.com and follow us on the socials on Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And we will see you all next month.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
It's fun.